is equally in a particularly bad state. And I also think when people are looking at Nigeria to see the numbers, is to see really what are we looking at? This is not a country that you divide half and half. You see over 73% of the land mass is the north, 19 states, huge areas to cover and to deliver service in, and not enough resources to do that. So, a challenge, very big challenge.
Absolutely. You talked about SDGs a moment ago. We went from MDGs to SDGs. Are we on track, Madam Minister? Are we on track to achieve these?
Well, let's say that, this was a paradigm shift in the way we think about development. The MDGs were very clearly 8 goals that specifically looked at the social sector. They only looked at one pillar of development. And what the SDGs tried to do is to go beyond that and say we need to look at the whole so that we deal with root causes. We're not just putting a Band-Aid on development. So you see infrastructure, you see environment, you see partnerships and governance as part of the SDGs. Yeah. And that's what we did. We transformed it to a universal agenda where we don't start looking at a certain quintile or population. We look at the whole and we say you leave no one behind. So your results really are in what's the poorest, most vulnerable person you have, and have you been able to deal with their issues? If you have, on the way to success. 15 years, can we do much to achieve the SDGs? I think we can go a very long way to doing that. The climate agenda has come into it as well. So there are many levers for it. But it's a very complicated world. I mean, what we face today are the complexities of core values that are lost, borders that are no longer there, yet we have not understood that and act as though they are. So we're putting up these walls that are in fact not real.
Absolutely. Solar power, energy, Nigeria's biggest problem, energy. You've been talking very vocally about solar energy, tapping into that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think when you look at Nigeria and you see how much infrastructure has to go into place for on-grid, gas-powered, electricity, it's going to take some time, and you can see how that's being damaged with all the efforts that the Minister of Power, Works and Housing has made. We still are challenged. Now, going off-grid with solar power, of course that's possible, and there is a plan for that. It's part of our energy mix. What does environment do about this? We leverage the Paris Agreement, which looks at very many compacts that are coming together to support that. We see how Morocco has been able to do this and indigenously provide the expertise and go to scale. And that's what we want to see here. But we'd like to see it joined up with the economic program so that you're not just putting solar power for the sake of it. You're reducing, you're getting the tariff framework ready, the policies responsive. And you're really looking at, an environment, for instance, we look at the Great Green Wall, 11 states, what do we do with economic trees? How do we feed that into a value chain where you see young people in small and medium scale industries, especially our women, getting employed?
Yeah, you think that's going to be possible soon, anytime?
It is. I mean, we're issuing the first sovereign green bond, and one of the major expenditures in the 20 billion naira is on solar power. It is working through the Ministry of Power, looking at off-grid for universities in some communities.
Yeah. A moment ago you talked about Lake Chad drying up.
Yes, I did.
Do you notice, a lot of people have noticed, that the desert is creeping further and further south? Desertification is becoming a huge problem.
Well, it's, that's climate change, but more than that, we're not helping with the deforestation. The trees that are coming down for firewood, for export, are also a challenge that we're facing. And this is why we look at programs like the Great Green Wall, why the President has put so much emphasis on the need to recharge Lake Chad, and the Minister of Water Resources is doing a lot to bring those donors together. In fact, I believe next week there's a lot of planning that will go on with the Ministry of Water Resources and UNESCO to try to provide that platform to see that we recharge Lake Chad. That has to happen. But so too the afforestation program, so too the policies that we're trying to put in to reduce the use of firewood, finding alternative cooking solutions, using gas, using cleaner fuel, but also finding the incentives that if you're going to cut down trees for exports, good for business. So we see a lot going out to China, but then you have to plant them back again so that we don't lose the forest cover at the rate at which we're doing it.
You seem very committed to this country, Madam Minister. Are you sure you want to leave?
No. It's a very conflicted decision, I have to say. It's an incredible privilege, and I'm humbled to have been selected to be Deputy Secretary General. But this is home, and we have masses of challenges, and so it's been very difficult to, I've got withdrawal symptoms. But yes, it's a calling now that's global, and that includes Nigeria. So.
Are you looking forward to your new assignment?
Yes, I am. I think the Secretary General of the United Nations is an amazing person. I asked him, so why did you go after a job like this in such a complicated time? And his answer was the moral imperative. And I think that that's a brilliant answer. That's something that gets us engaged because it's about our humanity, about the core values of the UN, and the ability to be that platform that engages everyone. As contentious as they may be, you have from one side to the other, from your SIDS to the G77 to the United States, everyone is a member of the United Nations family. And to try to keep that together, to fix our social fabric, to really bring back those core values and not to complicate the conversation.
Bottom line, who segues into your position? Because obviously there's a plate full, the inbox is full,
Yes.
the in tray. Who takes over as you move on?
Well, you know, I often wonder how this all happened, but in his wisdom, the President had two of us as Ministers in Environment, and we've worked very, very closely. So we're two sides of the same coin, and he will continue that work. The Minister of State, Ibrahim Osman Jibril, will do that. And he's dedicated, really dedicated, has the experience, has been around for a very long time at all levels of government, so I'm confident he'll carry on the work.
Yeah, Madam Minister, wish you all the very best in your new assignment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, Jeff.
All the best.
Okay, bye.
All right, time for another quick short break. Plenty more ahead, including the day's news headlines and, of course, business and sports. You're watching Arise News now, live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're back in a moment.